You made it to part 3, and that tells me something about you. You are not here for surface-level advice. You are here because you recognized yourself in part 1 and part 2. You saw your patterns, you felt the discomfort, and instead of closing the tab, you stayed. That took courage. Because most people would rather stay comfortable than face what is living in their shadow. In part 1, you learned what the shadow is. In part 2, you saw exactly how it destroys your life. Today is the part that changes everything. Today, I give you Carl Jung's exact method for integrating your shadow. The process he called shadow work. And what it actually looks like in practice. Stay with me until the very end, because the last thing I'm going to tell you is the most important thing in this entire series. You made it to the final part. Hit that like button right now and stay until the very end. The last thing I say will stay with you. Jung believed that most human suffering comes not from what happened to us, but from what we refuse to face about ourselves. The shadow is not your enemy. It is the part of you that was never allowed to exist. And shadow work is not about destroying it. It is about meeting it, understanding it, and integrating it into who you are. Jung said it clearly. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Here is exactly how to do that. The first step in shadow work starts with your triggers, because your triggers are not random. They are a precise map of everything living in your shadow. Every time someone triggers you intensely, ask yourself one question. What specifically about this person bothers me? Name it precisely. Their arrogance, their neediness, their dishonesty, their laziness. Then ask the harder question. Where does this quality live in me? Not where did it live in me once? Where does it live in me now? This is not comfortable, but it is the beginning of everything. Because you cannot integrate what you cannot see, and your triggers show you exactly where to look. The second step is the most powerful practice Jung ever developed. And the simplest, write, not a journal of your day. A direct conversation with the parts of yourself you have been avoiding. Sit alone, take a piece of paper, and write to the quality you most deny in yourself. If you deny your anger, write to your anger. Ask it when it arrived, what it needed that it never received, what it has been trying to protect you from. Then let it answer. Write whatever comes, without editing, without judging, without stopping. Jung called this active imagination, and he considered it the most direct path to the unconscious available to any human being. What comes out will surprise you. Often it will not feel like your voice. That is exactly the point. The third step requires brutal honesty. Think of someone you judge harshly, someone whose behavior genuinely bothers you. Now write down the exact quality that bothers you about them. Then ask yourself this: if I am being completely honest, when and how do I do this too? Not in the same way necessarily, not as obviously, but somewhere, in some context, with some person. The answer is almost always yes, because we only recognize in others what we already know from within. When you find the honest answer, you are not excusing their behavior. You are taking back a piece of yourself that you abandoned long ago, and every piece you reclaim makes you more whole, less reactive, less controlled by what you cannot see. We are almost at the end of this series. Subscribe right now if you haven't yet, because what is coming next on this channel goes even deeper, and you do not want to miss it. The fourth step is the one that transforms everything. In part 1, we talked about the positive shadow, the qualities you admire in others but refuse to claim for yourself. Your heroes and role models are showing you something. They are showing you who you could be, if you stopped telling yourself you cannot. The qualities you put on a pedestal in others are qualities that live in your shadow waiting to be claimed. The confidence you admire, the creativity you envy, the freedom you long for. These are not qualities that belong to other people. They are qualities that belong to you, that were pushed into your shadow before you were old enough to fight for them. Claiming them is not arrogance. It is integration. It is becoming whole. And here is the fifth step, the one most people skip, the one that makes the difference between shadow work that transforms and shadow work that stays theoretical. Compassion for yourself. Not the easy kind of compassion, the hard kind, the kind that looks at your anger and says, I understand why you are here. The kind that looks at your neediness and says you were not given what you needed. The kind that looks at your fear and says you learned this for a reason. Jung spent his entire career making one central argument. The shadow is not the enemy, it is the exile. Every quality in your shadow was pushed there for a reason, usually to survive, usually to be loved, usually to be safe, and those qualities deserve to be met with understanding, not more rejection, because the more you fight your shadow, the stronger it becomes. But the moment you turn toward it with compassion, something shifts, the grip loosens, the patterns begin to change. The life you have been trying to build finally has a real foundation. Here is what Jung understood that most people spend their entire lives missing. You are not just the person you present to the world. You are also everything you have hidden, everything you have rejected, everything you were told you could not be. And wholeness does not come from perfecting the part people see. It comes from integrating the part they don't. The shadow work is not comfortable. It is not quick. It is not a weekend exercise. It is a lifetime practice. But every step you take toward your shadow is a step toward freedom. Real freedom. The kind that does not depend on circumstances. The kind that does not require other people to change. The kind that comes from finally knowing all of yourself and choosing to be whole. That is what Jung was pointing toward his entire life. Not perfection, wholeness, and it is available to you. Starting today. If this series changed something for you, leave a like on all 3 videos. Tell me in the comments, what did you discover about your own shadow? Subscribe for more. Thank you for being here for all 3 parts. See you in the next one.